As we gather here, we gather with heavy hearts. We gather to pay tribute to Uganda, one of Uganda's finest legal minds, Justice George Wilson Kanyeihamba, a man whose voice carried the weight of principle, not just politics. And so in honoring a jurist for all of us Ugandans, we want to note as a team that Justice Kanyeihamba stood not for party, but for principles to protect justice, equality before the law, and to firmly protect constitutional order in this country. We recognize him and we honor him as the lead architect of the 1995 Constitution, the champion of rights and democratic governance. We honor and mourn him because we celebrate his courage. He consistently spoke truth to power, regardless of the political cost. Many Ugandans, maybe the young generation, may have missed that. But the point that he consistently spoke truth to power, a very, very bold person, means a lot to us at this time as a nation. He served with unmatched dignity as a constitutional thinker, a Supreme Court justice, and above all, a truth teller in times when silence was easier. Many Ugandans have decided to keep quiet and watch the country go wherever it wants to go, but that was not Justice George Wilson Kanyeihamba. We particularly remember his lone voice in the Supreme Court ruling on the presidential elections of 2006. And that ruling to date provided a shaking to the foundation of the Museveni government. Nobody had dared to do that, and we are still looking for who else will dare to provide such a position in their judgment. We are also honoring a public intellectual and author, and we remember particularly the fact that he said power without accountability is the beginning of tyranny. These days we are fed on leadership that's not accountable to anybody. Ugandans do not even feature in the equation of leadership these days. But Justice Kanyeihamba reminded everybody in his writings that power without accountability is simply tyranny, and that's what our country is experiencing. He taught us that the true test of democracy is not during elections, but in how power is sought and how the rules are respected. And that is why we make the connection between paying tribute to him today and what is happening in our country today.
What I will handle basically, and it's one issue since the demise of Justice Kanyeihamba has not been canvassed well. A lot has been said, but what he epitomized as a judicial officer, as a justice of the Supreme Court, has not been well articulated, and I really want us to put it in proper context. He espoused and practiced judicial activism, and this brings to the fore the need to debate these two concepts and also make a call to members of the judiciary, the justices of the Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court, and all the judicial officers across the board. The question of judicial activism vis-a-vis judicial restraint. There is a trend in the country where you have many of the justices laid back, as if they are detached from society. Yet the situation at hand and the challenges we are confronted with as a nation right now call for judicial activism. As we pay tribute to Justice Kanyeihamba, first of all, we recognize the fact that he responded to the call, the clarion call enshrined in the Constitution, that when things are going astray, when there is lawlessness, violation of the Constitution. You don't need to just sit back as a justice and wait to be moved, and then you kind of go through the legalese and go back to your home. No. He practiced judicial activism, and that's what is lacking in our justice system and in the democratic processes. Judges ultimately are part of the society. They are part of this country. When this country goes up in flames, all of us are vulnerable. It's not only those the political actors who are seated here, or the ordinary Ugandans, including the justices. So it's the reason we make a call to them to emulate Justice Kanyeihamba. The Chief Justice and your team, please carry on with please emulate Justice Kanyeihamba and carry on with his legacy and the philosophy he espoused that justices have to be, first of all, outspoken, but they also have to respond to the clarion call enshrined in our Constitution. Judicial activism has helped many democracies, particularly in India and South Africa. Judges are very, very active. Even across the border here in Kenya, Justice Maraga exuded that. He not only nullified the election of Uhuru, but also went out of his way and said, please, this is totally unacceptable. Continuing with the advocacy, continuing with agitation, and up to now, as a justice, in his retirement, he is still very, very active, politically active. So judicial activism is critical, is important, and that's what Justice Kanyeihamba stood for. He never sat back in his robes and said, for me, this is not for me. No way. When a country is on fire, all of us are duty-bound to take action, including justices. So the other day in Supreme Court, when Justice Chisache came out also to take a similar direction, she was treated with a kind of harshness. And as we speak now, she's in exile. Justice Chisache is in exile because she wanted to take a different, because here we have told you the voice that Kanyeihamba came up with in the 2006 petition, where together with the two others dissented from the majority judgment and said no, that election couldn't be sustained. They had to annul it. They declared it a nullity, that it didn't reflect the will of the people. That's what they did in 2006. So 2021, Justice Chisache tried her best, only to be treated like an outcast. The kind of, humiliation she was subjected to, and eventually she was hounded out of the country, and now she's in exile, just because of that position she took. So we invite members of the judiciary, please, rise to the occasion, take on the bull by the horns, and do the right thing. We must cultivate a culture of judicial activism in our justice system and also in our body politic. It's important, it's vital, and it's a call to the justices. And to the academics, you see, by the time he died, Kanyeihamba had written 32 books. That's when I did the last counting. I don't know, maybe he could have written others. And when I interfaced with him, he had indicated he was writing his 33rd book. To make it, he wanted, now the tally would come to 33 books. And the last one he was writing, the title was Museveni Must Go. I request the family, if he had actually finalized it, we should pay tribute by having this book released, launched, and we need to understand what exactly he had written in that book. At least I was at his home when he was dragging Yoweri Kaguta Museveni to court for violating the Constitution, when he wanted to expand from the Constitution provisions relating to bail. And he had to go to the Constitutional Court personally to challenge him. So he said he was writing his final book, Museveni Must Go. So far he had written 32 books. That's a very, very big record, which is unprecedented. And I don't know who within the world of the academics has surpassed that record. 33 books. That's something which is phenomenal, and we must always recognize and appreciate.